Hey everybody, this is Adam Hall, and this is my introductory video for EDL 632 with Dr. Kevin McClure. I'm going to go walk through today the three questions that Dr. McClure posed for us. So, who are you? What do you hope to get from the class and your worries? And then kind of some responses and some thoughts to the reading. So, my hope today is to keep this less than 5 minutes to not take too much of anybody's time up. But I do appreciate you taking a minute to watch my video. So, who am I? I am a third-year doctoral student in the Educational Leadership Program. I've worked at UNCW for going into my sixth year now. So I've been here 5 years as a professional staff. I did 2 years of grad school here in the Masters of Public Sociology program, and I've also did part of my undergrad here. So I've been in Wilmington for going on 10, 11 years. Love this community, love being a part of it, and hope that this program will help me to springboard whatever comes next for me. So that's kind of exciting. I actually really love this kind of concentration area. So finance, not necessarily my expertise, but I'm fascinated with the resource structures of higher education and specifically how they operate. And I'll talk a little bit about this later in the video, but I really am fascinated by the impact of prestige on all of the issues that we've talked about throughout the program and probably what we'll talk about through this class. So that's a little bit of my hopes of what I'm hoping to learn. I want to learn to understand the larger context of how finance affects higher education. This morning I listened to an NPR podcast where they were talking about how one of the large for-profit higher education companies is now not allowed to accept or is not able to ask for federal funding, and so the ITT Technical Institute parent group is now not allowed to take federal funds. So if based on the commentary today, it doesn't sound like they're really going to stand a chance to stay alive as an institution. So that's something I'm really interested in following and thinking about, as well as some larger structures of what are the ethics around free community college, free four-year universities, and what do people really mean and think about when they say, like, oh, we should privatize higher ed. What does that actually look like, seeing what we're seeing now? So a couple other things, but to get to the readings, which I thought were really, really fascinating. I do appreciate two good readings this week. So the Marginson piece, Ideas of Higher Ed is not a public good because it is not non-rivalrous and executable. Can't pronounce that word yet, I guess. And so I thought it was really interesting. We talked about that in class. It really made me think a lot about how I feel about higher ed and what I know about the structures and how I see higher ed definitely playing into the public good, but for a long time I really saw it as a public good. And I think it's interesting to kind of play some of that out as the authors do in both of the pieces that we read for this week. Really, what is higher ed and what's the purpose and how is it kind of a public good, and it also is a public good, but also serves the public good. So kind of the discrepancies there. I really think that treating higher education as a public good and not just serving it really helps us to minimize, and Marginson also touches on this, minimizes the isolation and the elitism that comes with higher education because we're diffusing and creating access points. And so I know that there's a lot of dialogue around there I can't get into in a 5-minute video, but I think it's interesting that when we start looking at that and diffusing and creating access, there's a real conversation about this idea of SEN 09, which is within the Marginson text, fairness and inclusion, and how those are two separate ideas. And so fairness is not necessarily inclusive. If we look at how people were defining fairness and how is it equitably shared and how is resources and finances shared, are we making a fair campus because people who have money are being able to use their money, or are we being inclusive where we're opening up doors for folks? And so there's a lot of interpretations there. I'd love to get others' ideas on that. And really kind of saying that neither of them is really, it's the chimera. It's not really real, but they go together pretty exclusively. And then the Corinne McPherson and Resch 06 text, this idea of comparing public and private nonprofit universities, and then kind of trickling in the for-profit conversation throughout, but how similar public and privates really are. I did not realize until I read this text how similar their structures really are. They're still all vying for the same pools of money, and so there creates competition there, which I think we have to really manage and figure out how to balance that out. I'm a little bit over my 5 minutes right now, but I do want to touch on two more things. Is that there's multiple different research projects to show that higher ed is great for public good, whether it be increased volunteering, increased giving of blood for transfusions and donations, but also an increase in civic engagement. And I think those are really interesting areas when we talk about creating holistic students, kind of on the lower level, not thinking of the institution. They play right in. And then I also really like the idea of higher education is the social insurance policy, where higher ed seems to always have some version of an answer. Anytime we hear from an expert, we have something crazy has happened, it seems to be higher education is always there to be picking up the pieces and be preventative in the work that they're doing. So I apologize for going over my 5 minutes. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'd like to hear from everybody soon. Thanks.